this has been a long time coming, what we've built here, and it's been a lot of conversations over several years. And Dean, thinking back, when did it start? Because I mean, this was SWAT before it was IWA.
Well, even before that, there was a loose chat between people like Harrison Rain, some guys in Canada, Alex, and a whole bunch of people about how do we take this thing international. And there were lots of chats at conferences where we bumped into each other and became friends. But then since then we got into SWAT, and now we're in the International Wildfire Alliance. So and it's taken, as you said, a lot of effort to get us here, a lot of chats and trying to find our way in this world. But I think we've got together because we've got an aligned thought pattern around where this is going in the wildfire industry, but also where wildfires are going on these landscapes, especially the landscapes that don't have what we can maybe help them with.
I got a pretty funny story how I linked up with all of you guys, actually. So it was 2022, June 2022. We just the season before was 2021 in British Columbia. It was a smoke and busy season. We expanded as a company. That was my first year of operations, and we were kind of geared up early for 2022 season. So we got all the guys trained up in April, and everybody's chomping at the bit to go out. And then it just starts pissing rain all over British Columbia from like April, May. Now we're like halfway through June, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get any of these guys work. Like, I got to do something here. So I pulled up a registry of literally every single contractor in the U.S. Forest Service. And then I just started calling numbers, and just like, I printed it out. It was like 2 pages of numbers. And I like call a guy in, California, and I'm like, hey man, I'm Nick. I run Carmana Wildfire here in BC. I'm looking to collaborate with somebody down in the States. And I'm wondering if there's anything there. And somebody they'd be like, nah, no. And then I think I went through like, I don't know, 15, 20 people. And then I got linked up with this other guy who's just like, give Troy a call. Maybe Troy will be able to work with you. So I called Troy, and I'm like, hey, is this Rocky Mountain Fire Co? And Troy picks up the phone, and he's like, hello? I'm like, hey man, I'm Nick. Like, I'm from Canada. I give him my whole spiel. I'm from Canada. I got a wildfire company in British Columbia. We're looking to collaborate with somebody down in the States. And Troy's just like, oh, that's interesting. We collaborate with NCC down in South Africa. We love these international collaborations. Why don't you come down and see me, and we'll have a chat? So I got in my truck the next day and drove across 3 states, and went and visited Troy and his family. And we got chatting about what a potential collaboration would look like. And he linked us up with a guy, Tim Murphy, who we all know, who's an absolute legend. Yeah, from there, I think he put us in contact with Dean, and then Alex, or Alan, and then finally Alex. That's how I weaseled my way into the mix there.
That's true. It's good that we remind ourselves how far this has come with various people. So Troy definitely, but Murphy was the driver for a long time, our silent driver that's got us together, and he's now unfortunately retired completely. But yeah, we've got to acknowledge some of the effort that Tim put in to keep us going in the early days when we were not sure where we were going. So I suppose, Alan, you and I bumped into each other while we're in Germany at Fire, and that's where we bumped into you and a whole bunch of other people. And since then, we've collaborated cross continents on a couple of occasions. So I think that is, Nick, thanks, yeah, the way you've articulated that is the way we met. There's some special people that aren't on this video call right now that made this happen. And we're going to thank all of them for putting us together.
Yeah, Dean, I think there was a time we were on 3 continents together in a month.
That's exactly it.
Yes.
I came to visit you, do some work there. We ended up in Europe, and then you came to do some work with me down here. So yeah, I think it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually. Yeah, it was I remember those trips, 21 takeoffs in 24 days.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we pay tribute to Tim Murphy. I mean, me as a German, I was sent down to South Africa to learn practical fire management back in 2001. Without that fast forward of experience in fire management. I'm a good example of the value of international exchange. Without South Africa, I would still be in the Black Forest and wait for the next big fire. And then I'll experience one or two and then I retire. And now this is true for many people in places like Germany, where fire is now a new phenomenon due to climate change. And there's a massive lack of expertise. I remember coming back after the first or second visit, and we started burning here in Germany, and I felt so confident because I've done it in bigger scale and with less resources. And this is something you can't really buy for money. This was incredible.
You know, for me, I got involved internationally in about 2008. Met my buddy Detlef at an IAWF conference in Phoenix, Arizona. They were looking for a keynote speaker for Atfire, and I went and spoke at the Whitfield conference for the first time in 2009. I think I was back again in 2010, 2014, a few different times. Detlef made me a member of Atfire, and when he started Wallbrand Team, he made me a member of Wallbrand Team. And over the years, I've hosted numerous German firefighters come into Arizona, helped get them onto hotshot crews for experience, work with municipal fire departments, work with Forest Service engines, come and get an experience to learn wildland and how we manage it in the States. Got people out to shadow our national incident management teams. I really enjoyed all that interaction. I've got a bunch of friends in Europe and internationally now because of some of the things that I've done. I went to Bolivia in 2019 on behalf of Atfire. And, you know, the connections that I started making, I'm just one person, and the ability of IWA to connect a bunch of people. And I'm looking forward to young people meeting young people and having full careers to interact together and have cool adventures the way that we have is going to be pretty special. So I'm excited to get rolling this year. Dean, you've already done some training in Zambia as the International Wildfire Alliance. I'm getting ready to go to Germany to do the Hell Week for Atfire. Then we'll be in Poland for SNEP's Forest Camp, and then into Canada to provide training to the Indigenous Police Chiefs Association and First Nations communities. So I think the things that we're lined up to do and are doing this year and have the potential to do in the future are going to be very valuable to the international wildland community. I'm excited about the connections that we're going to make and how this thing's going to grow over time.
No, I think it's
You forgot you have another appointment in Germany. You're going to do a one-day risk assessment with us on this UXO contaminated landscape that carried a big fire in 2022. On your way to Poland, we're going to spend some time there and look at a very specific topic for Europe, but also many, many other places in the world. Contaminated landscape. Ukraine is prime example now, but it's a long list of countries from Mozambique to Angola to Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, you name it. And this is also a topic you cannot solve on your own. You need international help and sharing of experience. And we're super grateful for you being here on the 20th of May and looking into an area that has a 150-year-old military history, German rich military history. and now a new problem with fires on these landscapes. And just one example of the value of exchange. And what you said with the young generation, I'm observing now my son going into fire, hopefully. I'm teaching a number of students over the years. And when I see the opportunities that we can provide them out of the network, I'm thinking back when I started in fire 2001, fresh from university. If I had no connections and the spirit in the community was not as it is today, I was winning the lottery coming to South Africa and meeting generous people sharing their knowledge. And if I look at the next generation that is coming out of universities and they all have these big dreams of doing something good in this crazy world. If we can help them with our connections and the network to kind of speed up and kickstart their impact, I think we can then one day retire happily if that is our role. And we have this massive gap of what does this international framework and all these policies and declarations, what does that mean for people on the ground tomorrow morning? And there's not much out there. And I think with the companies and structures and background that this group is bringing together, we can tick that box of closing that gap and exposing people that have to make decisions tomorrow morning with the capacity to live in that framework that the international community is putting out there. And I think this is a massive motivation for me.
I'm near the end of my career. I'm soon to be resting a bit more, but resting in IWA, not resting in NCC. So, but there are people behind us that need to learn from this. We have the opportunity to plan our succession, and I think it's critically important what we do, not only in our own individual businesses in IWA, but also with those people we touch as we go to these different countries. And we all travel extensively. I mean, and we learn. I mean, I've always said I steal with my eyes. I go gather information, bring it back, change what we do here. But we also have small things we do here that might help people in other places. So while Alan's in Germany, Sil will be joining him. So we'll have another NCC/IWA member for his second trip to Europe now to share the experiences he's got. And I know they're planning to do more. I mean, one thing we're not mentioning is the experience inside here. Alan, you don't like talking about yourself. I'm going to talk about you for a second. Where do you get a type 1 IC prepared to share his knowledge? We're very fortunate in our mix to have one of the top incident commanders that the US has had on large incidents, who's prepared to share what he's done, his knowledge, and his connections around the world. And I don't think there are many other organizations can offer that. Nick, you in your country are one of the leading providers of wildland firefighters and training in Canada, in one of the places that burns the most. Alex, I mean, your name's all over everything, everywhere. You read something, FAO, everywhere you go. There's so the team that we're putting together here is not just 4 people that got to know each other over a beer or a glass of water, Alan. These are a bunch of people that actually come with a lot of experience across continents at a firefighting level. All of us are still firefighters, but also at a fire management and fire intellect level. So I think what we're putting together, and with the intent we have behind us to help other people, I think we're onto a good thing over here.
Yeah, very good thing. And Dean, your career needs a mention as well. I mean, what a business you have built, and your commitment to integrated wildfire management. I think you really opened my eyes for being able as IWA to provide capacity building within the realm of integrated wildfire management. So from the front to the back of wildfires, being able to connect people to make a difference in that world is going to be a big deal. Congratulations on your soon retirement. You could be relaxing as much as I do now. And Alexander, thanks for reminding me about Saxony. I was in Lower Saxony in 2014 at the fire school there with Detlef. So it's going to be nice to be back there. Looking forward to it. I think, that's what I really enjoy is the connections that I made and the friends that I've made. I feel like I've got a lot of international friends now that I look forward to going and seeing. The community that IWA can build by connecting people and allowing them to work together, learn together, train together, have experiences together. It's going to be a big deal to the world of wildland fire.
I think you mentioned people, Alan. All our work and all our network is centered around and based on connections, as you mentioned. And this is people. I mean, real people connections. We all observe this high-tech boom and startup companies, and they want to solve the fire problem by some new technology and drones and robots and you name it. For me, a lot of that is totally neglecting the connection. And it's not only the people connection, but looking back at at the work Dean is doing in Africa, you do in Canada and in America, and also the training that's coming up with indigenous people. That's another connection. And I think we have this awareness in the room here that prevention of fire starts with connection, and connection also to the land, and not only people connection, but connection to the land, and not this focus on, oh, I have a new invention and this is a silver bullet and this will solve the global fire crisis. I think this sets us apart from many new initiatives that pop up now everywhere, and also compared to these, we're not looking for venture capital startup funding. This is, you know what I mean? We're not here to go to the stock exchange and promote ourselves here. I think this is the thing that I enjoy most.
Yeah, the connection to people is going to be very important. And you know, in 2020, when we were faced with COVID and having to move people around the country and figuring out what that was going to look like, intermingling resources at a national scale during a global pandemic, I reached out to Dean. South Africa had already been through it as we were getting ready for our fire season. So Dean shared his plans. I was able to implement South African plans immediately to start making sure I was doing the best I could to protect our firefighters locally. That plan span into the region and even into our national plans. So thanks again for that, Dean. But that's just one example of, you know, how these connections are going to help people. People are going to have somebody to reach out to, lean on. They're going to have international friends. We're going to be able to bring people in, I think, to our businesses at some point to give them opportunities to go fight fire in different countries and gain experience. There's a lot of potential to do a really lot of good work. So I'm excited about it. And how long have we been talking? I think it's been like 5 years. And now we're finally doing something. So
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's been a while. A lot of meetings, a lot of discussion, a lot of trying to figure out what it's going to look like. But I think we've got a model that's going to work. And I'm excited to get rolling this year.
Yeah. And I think that was an important thing that you touched on there, Alex, is people have kind of view fire as like fire bad, but we don't really have that connection to fire anymore. Just how it's spread in the media and the narrative that's put forth by fire. But we often forget that fire is natural and fire is actually a very important part of the ecosystem. And we're starting to bring it back more with a little bit of prescribed burning and cultural burning, but I think not nearly enough of that is being done. And even the like awareness piece around fire in the landscape, I think we'll do a good job at the IWA of kind of spreading the good word of good fire, because fire is actually a very important part of a lot of ecosystems and different fire regimes around the world.
I mean, I'm coming back from Zambia now. At Kafue National Park, they burn about 80% of 2.5 million hectares a year. Most of that's not controlled, not prescribed. They've got Brian van Wolken there now helping them determine their fire return rate, and it's about 7 years. So they've just put together. The reason I was there to train was last year they had their first 12 firefighters on 2.5 million hectares. This year they got 30 firefighters on 2.5 million hectares. That sounds completely inadequate, but they've got a plan and they're working towards training them up, the local guys and ladies up. They're getting their first helicopter, and it's all about good fire versus bad fire. Poachers are using bad fire to distract or to open up the landscape for hunting, which then burns the reserve down or the park down, and now they're trying to stop that by doing a lot of prescribed burning. So, I mean, when we talk about here in Cape Town, we've done our third prescribed burn this week. 14 hectares, 10 hectares, 5 hectares. They're going to do 40,000 hectares a day. You know, they have a landscape that needs it. So Nick, you're right. We're not just pyromaniacs or people. I've got an environmental qualification, and that's part of why I got into fire was prescribed burning. We were burning for our unique fynbos, one of the most endemic plant kingdoms in the world. And if we didn't have fire in this landscape, good fire, we wouldn't have these plants. We wouldn't have tourism. We probably wouldn't have work. So yeah, we're not all about, putting the wet stuff on the red stuff or beating it out. We actually understand what fire plays in the ecological process. And I think that's also a difference we can bring to the party compared to many others.
I agree. I think that our voice in that international conversation about fire is going to be very important. And, humans lost their relationship with plants when they became dependent on electricity for their heating and cooking. There's a lot of fuel wood that would have been consumed, basically doing risk reduction around communities. It had people continue to use that fuel wood to heat and cook their food. Fire in the Sonoran Desert, it's a system that's not adapted to fire. We've got invasive plants that are bringing fire to the Sonoran Desert. We're losing big swaths of it to wildfire, burning very hot at the wrong time of year. We're trying to bring low intensity fire at the right time of year to protect the desert endemic plants. There's always challenges with fire, and I like that this group is like-minded and that we need to figure out what the problem is, if there's a problem, or if there's a value to fire at the right time of year in different systems. And
the type of things we'd like to offer are not just about readiness and response. We also want to do risk reduction, talking about the 5 R's that the FAO has now brought online. And you'll see on the website and that we talk about all 5 R's. And I think it's important. Part of what we want to do is risk reduction. I mean, we all firefighters. We want to go fight fires, but we know that the true answer to this is actually reducing the risk, removing or mitigating that risk. So that's another part I know we're going to play a big role in, is how to reduce risk across the landscape with communities. The training we do is all about risk reduction. Assessing properties or landscapes for risk. It's something we're all capable of doing. We do it here on a provincial scale. So I do think that's another area of our expertise that we can bring to the party with our connections. We mentioned some of their names early on. People like Brian van Wilgen, who's specialist around the world, but specifically in the Mediterranean type climates. So I do think that's another thing that IWA can bring to the parties, is these connections with these experts across the range of integrated wildfire management, not just readiness and response.
On that readiness and response piece, though, I think that's pretty cool to collaborate our folks down in Canada with, the Americans and the South Africans, and really understand how what you guys do in South Africa differs a lot from what we do up here in Canada. But I think there's going to be a lot of transferable skills that your folks will be able to teach our folks, and likewise with you, Alan, and to Dean. So I think that collaboration piece, when we are kind of boots on the ground and actioning fire, is going to be pretty special. It's going to be pretty cool. And then when we start to integrate with the Europeans and, start fighting fires in different fuel types than we're used to back in our hometowns, then it'll be pretty cool.
And you will see, Nick, there's a lot of expertise with fire in the Mediterranean, Southern Europe. The transferability from Southern Europe to Central and Northern Europe is not that easy. In all these places where fire is now a new phenomenon, people have lots and big question marks. Giving a reference, and a quick reference, how things can be done from the States, from Canada, from Africa, is tremendously helpful for a lot of people here, because they, as I mentioned earlier, the lack of expertise, they don't know how to do it. And this guidance and reference, and Alan, you earlier said you have friends where you can lean on, and this is very, very important in my context here, where people feel incredibly alone in this task. I should manage fire. What do I do in a risk assessment and things? So these examples, if we can, as you come over now and we do this risk assessment together, and it might be very normal for you, but it might be an eye-opener for the local players in this area in Germany. And then if we play this back and say, oh, well, but in South Africa, we do it this way, and in Canada, we do it this way, suddenly you have a toolbox of different tools, and they can say, oh, it's that easy. Yes, it is that easy if you have the right people at the right time at the right place, sharing knowledge.
Well, we're certainly queued up to do good stuff. Dean?
I think the main area, two areas at the moment that we're really geared up and ready to go for is training and mentorship. And we have the expertise from 3 different sets of training, 4 now, because Germany's also published their training information, which is based similarly to all of us. Actually, South Africans based a lot on the Americans, and looking at between what Canada and America does is all quite similar. We're all in a comfortable space to offer the training. We come with many years of experience in managing incidents, managing people, managing processes. So I think that's the one area that IWA can go and help anywhere in the world, because the principles of integrated wildfire managers should be the same. The landscape might be different, the vegetation might be different, the indigenous burning might be different, but managing an incident is got very similar qualities no matter where you go to. So I think that's the one thing that we would like to share and offer and help with where we can. The second thing is actually send firefighters. We have the capacity to send high-level integrated wildland firefighters, dirty boots, dirty hands people that can go and assist as and when required. We've been fortunate to go to America 5 times. We've done a bit of burning in Portugal. I ticked the box, 5th country this year, in the last 2 years that we burnt in. And it's just getting more and more. So that's the other services we can offer. Then the risk reduction, which is what we're talking about new now in our group, but we've all been doing risk reduction for a long time. As I said, we do it on a provincial scale for our conservation organizations, our national parks, and we've done it for insurance companies. We're doing it for individual landowners for insurance. So we've all got the NFPA standards. We panel beat the NFPA requirements, so it suits our South African circumstances, but we can do it anywhere in the world because it's NFPA. So I think those are the other things that as a team, and the people around us, it's not just the 4 of us. I mean, we've got in our teams, in our crews, we've got a lot of very experienced people as well. Going now to Germany, I mean, there's going to be a Canadian, South African, or 2 Canadians, 3 Americans, and a South African helping the Germans in Hell Week. So yeah, it's happening. We're not talking about it anymore. It's actually happening.
Yeah, I think that's like a good point. Like, where's the IWA headed? What's our kind of mission statement, and how are we going to get there?
Well, so Nick, it's what I like. When I started this business 22 years ago, I never wrote a business plan because I didn't know how to write one. I still don't know how to write one. But what I do know is I know how to connect with people. It's not what I know, it's who I know. And I think that's what we're doing over here now. So we do need to understand where we're going to, but osmotically things are going to pop out and say, I need X. This Zambia trip was arranged because 2 helicopter pilots spoke to each other, not because they saw a website or phoned around for references. And that's going to happen. We're going to bump into people who go, I know those guys, or those companies, or those ladies, not just guys, there's some ladies in our crews. And our mission at the moment is to put that exposure out there, who we are and what we're offering as a non-profit. This is not to line our pockets. We're all very, very excited about doing fire, and that's what we want to do. And then for most of us, we're near the end of our careers, and I want to give back. I've got so much. This is my 40th year chasing from small fires to big fires, sitting in classrooms now. So, and that's done me well personally. I can afford to retire, semi-retire, and it's time to give back. So that's where I'm sitting at the moment.
I feel like we're going to have some good passion projects. You know, there's places in the world that are pretty special that may not have the capacity to pay for what we could offer. And as a nonprofit, we could raise funds to get the right people to the right places to build the right capacity for them. I think growth is going to be imminent because of the connections that we have, because of the people that we know. You look at groups like Flamework that Carlos Trinidad has started, and the communication that happens in those chats, and the level of people that are connected to those conversations. Those are the people that we could reach out to help assist in areas that need it, or perhaps to go assist them if they need some assistance.
Ellen, add Snap to that. Add our good friend Jan Kaczmarowski.
Yes.
I mean, the fire nerd traveled around, visited a couple of people, and look what he set up over there. It's an amazing concept he's got going over there, and and they're growing the passion for wildfire and what they do. I mean, both of you are going to be there this year again. Unfortunately, can't be there, but I think it's amazing. So it is about those connections that we built and keep building and keep the relationships going. We're all on the same page. We all communicate as and when required. One other thing is we have a northern and southern hemisphere fire season. Although we're weird in South Africa, we burn the whole year round. In a country, we split in two. But when you guys are busy up north chasing fires, we have a quieter time down here. So we have the ability to help up north or train up north, be available, and then it swaps around the other way. So we've had, over the last 6 years now, we've had Spaniards, Danes, lots of Germans, a couple of Americans, Canadians come to visit us and spend a couple of months chasing fires in a very third world country when it comes to wild and fire. So we have to do it with less resources, and they learn quite a bit from when you don't have access to water or as many aircraft, but you've got to run down a line. All those experiences they can take back with them, and it's not just about pumps and water pressure. It could be about how many times that flap has to hit the ground, or how do you remove fuel from the head of a fire. So we've got that seasonal capability where we can share knowledge over a season, and we've also got the capacity to help each other in those seasons.
We've got the capacity to provide training that's going to take best practices from international training curriculums. We've got the potential to help take volunteers into places like South Africa and provide some organization for small groups of people traveling internationally, especially when our folks know each other, like Searle and Ethan knowing each other. We'll get to know Oz when we're in Germany. But having our leadership within IWA be familiar with each other, have cohesion, have similar training, and then being able to then take groups of people into places like South Africa or down into South America. Bolivia was reaching out last year. They were having a really bad season. There's a lot of nonprofits in South America that are engaged in fighting fires and potentially need some more training. So we've got a lot of potential to make a lot of good connections, connect a lot of people, and watch the IWA grow.
I love it. I'm stoked.
Me too. Been a lot of good meetings, and to be here where we're actually, considering posting on social media, considering introducing ourselves to the wildland world internationally, getting ready to travel. It's all running. So I'm excited, and Alexander, look forward to seeing you soon. Nick shortly after, and Dean sometime in June.